What the heck is a consciousness cleanse? Join us on today's episode with Fatima Mosala as we delve into the concept of a consciousness cleanse and discover how it can pave the way for a more fulfilled and enlightened existence. Also, if you've resonated with today's interview, make sure to check the show notes and sign up for the early bird pricing that disappears at the end of tonight. Get ready for a fabulous episode. Welcome to the Courage to Be podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Vasallo. And each week, I will bring you amazing guests so that you can tap into the courage to break out of old patterns and live your soul's purpose. Before we get into this episode, if by the end you enjoyed it, please follow, rate, review, and share the podcast so we can reach more people. Because here's the thing, I'm on a mission to close the gender gap in the podcasting world so that more and more women's voices are heard. If you feel that this is something you value too, then please take action by rating, reviewing, following, and sharing the podcast. We can only do this together. Check out the link in the show notes to see how this is done. And make sure to stay until the end to claim some free gifts I have for you. Welcome back to the Courage to Be, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And today we have such a special guest for me. She's been a mentor, a teacher, one of my best mentors that I've had in my life, Fatima Mosala. Thank you so much, Fatima, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for this wonderful introduction. You have been a great student, very diligent, very dedicated. You care about the people that you serve, and that says volume because you are constantly working on improving yourself, constantly working on bringing new perspective, and that doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much for having me today.
I am just so excited. I have so many questions for you because anyone that doesn't know Fatima, you're in for a treat. I mean, this woman has just blown my mind. I haven't known her that long. And the first time I was actually introduced to you, Fatima, was through your consciousness cleanse. And I was like, which we will talk more about on this podcast episode. But I was like, who is this woman? Why does Sheila keep recommending this woman? Like, I don't know her, like from the Middle East, like, what is she up to? Like, I had to Google you, I had to research you. But there was this pool, there was this energy. And I'm just so excited and delighted to have you here because you've never heard this from me. And I will just share this. I know you come from Bob Proctor's as one of his disciples. You studied for years with him. And I've had many mentors that studied under Bob Proctor, but I felt like none of them could deliver the material and his teachings and the way that I could kind of understand and assimilate. And boom, here came Fatima, because Bob Proctor unfortunately passed away a year and a half ago. And like, I wanted to learn directly from Bob, like I just kept meeting all these mentors that had been his disciples. And then you showed up, and the way you deliver, the way you teach, the way you synthesize information, it just blew my mind. That's why I had to introduce you as one of these amazing mentors and teachers that I have not been able to find on my journey. Like, I've been able to understand certain things, but it just didn't seem the same way. And I think it's one of those stories for anyone listening that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's how I see you, Fatima. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of your journey, where you're from, because to me, you are like a change maker in the world. You are a daring woman coming from the Middle East, bringing this work, but standing for people's transformation. So share with us, how did you get here?
Well, I don't know how to respond to all the wonderful things that you said. Thank you so much. I'm like you, student in the industry. My first exposure to personal development started in 1997. I picked up a book for Tony Robbins, followed by a book for Napoleon Hill. And then the books were in the Middle East, all in English. I couldn't read a word of English. So the effort I had to put to understand, it was just fascinating. I had to translate word for word to be able to read a chapter or one page only. And then it just grew from there. 2001 or 2002, this is where I actually began my journey as a coach to learn about this industry and become a student and then a teacher myself. I think what you refer to is to simplify textbook material in a language or in a way that an average person can understand it. And I have been able to do so because I wanted to understand it for myself first. So for me to understand it and understand the perspective of the teacher, the mentor, the coach, the study, the philosophy, whatever, I had to break it down to the ridiculous so I could absorb it. And then after I have absorbed it, then I can implement it. Most people are fascinated in the industry with the new philosophy, the new word, the group of words that they put together. Okay, this is great to learn about, but did you learn from? How would you do that? No one has the application to do it. And that was my journey, to figure out an application. And once you have figured that out, you have the information for life. You have learned it. You don't need to refer to a mentor, a book, a YouTube channel. No, nobody will be there for you. You don't need anyone because all the information you have, you can actually implement. And from there, you extracted wisdom. And wisdom you get also to pass on. And that's the beauty about constantly learning, constantly developing oneself. So this is to reflect back on what you said. But for me, I started early on with reading books, and then I was fascinated with the field of energy. I became a healer. I studied Reiki. I studied energy. And that was like, woo, then, like it was so weird. So I had to tone it down and not to let people know what I'm doing. And then I brought in coaching into it. And the way it started, I wanted to learn how to coach teams, people in corporation. And the person who was delivering the material said, Fatima, you have a gift. Consider life coaching. And I took that on. I took it on and I never stopped. So always I'm looking for who will be my next mentor. And until today, I still work with mentors, sometimes multiple ones. And I refer to them when I need help, refer to them when I want to expand my consciousness, when I'm up to big things. Mentors have been an essential part of my growth. So this is where we are today.
This is awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the importance of having a mentor, because it relates with what you just said of information and wisdom. And we live in a day and age where we can acquire so much information for free. So can you tell us about the difference for you having mentors in your life and why that's so important versus trying to go at it on your own?
So growing up, I have been a straight A student, meaning I get the marks. Okay, but what is the application of mathematics in my life? Very little. What's the application of physics or chemistry in my life? Very, very little. Those things that we have learned in school, we spent over 12 years and then 4 years in university. And for those who go higher education, even more, what's the application of that in my day-to-day living? Am I improving the quality of my life? Yes or no? For a child, 6, 7 years of age, we entrust institutions with our children. We have forgotten that institutions are for profit. And their aim is to finish curriculums. They have created curriculums to finish it, regardless of the quality of the outcome. That's why children cheat to get the marks. That's why children can come out without knowing anything. They still relate on calculators because their math skill is not strong. For example, they don't understand biology properly. Therefore, they are not so conscious about the food that they are consuming or the activities that nourishes the body or not, etc., etc. Like this conversation can go very, very diverse in so many directions. However, when we bring it down to learning and application, in the past, communities were very tight, were very close. For a child to be within a community, they will have an elder in a form of a parent, grandparent, grand-grandparent, an uncle, and someone in the community who will hold the hands of that child and guide them through life. This is not available in today's age or today's time. So people must look for mentors who have been there, done that, and have the results or the outcome that the person is looking for, because no one else will hold your hand. You know, families are shrinking, they are not expanding. Connections between family members are not as strong as it used to be, and trust is broken anyways. But when there's an exchange, meaning I'll pay Tanya to mentor me, or I'll pay XYZ person to coach me, because I have paid for it, there is a sense of deservedness, like I deserve to get, I should get, and then I'm rightfully right, like I have this right to ask for the questions or the information that I need, and the mentor has to give it to me. So that expectation is there. Therefore, the person is creating their life by design, is not following by default. That's why mentorship and coaching is extremely crucial. It has a trap though. Who could you trust in the industry? My neighbor's chicken, I always say, even my neighbor's chicken is a coach. How would you know which coach is the right coach for you? And that's the journey every person has to go through. And that's why word of mouth is very important. That's why one trusting their own intuition. How do I feel about this person? Are they saying the truth? Is what they are saying is resonating with me? And taking the necessary diligence, due diligence to make sure that this person is the right person for me. They have what I want, and they are openly sharing it with me, because some coaches or mentors, they have what you want, but they are not willing to share it with you. Then what's the point?
They're not willing, and sometimes they might not be the right teachers. They might be very good at applying that, but not the right teacher for you. That's a great point that you bring up. So how did it work for you, Fatima? When did your life start shifting of living a life by default versus a life by design? Can you give us a story or some examples of how that started shifting for you?
I come from a wealthy family, meaning I did not necessarily need it to continue my education. I didn't need to open a business or have a work or line of work or anything. My whole purpose in life was to get married, have children, make sure my husband is happy, my in-laws are happy, my family are happy, I'm happy. That's it. That was the end of the story of my life. But I wanted something bigger. I wanted something different. And I wanted to do certain things in my life, despite the cultural, religious, environmental, governmental, whatever restriction and limitation that they were there. For that, I had to pay the price. The price was trial and error. So I trusted a lot of people with my time, with my resources to guide me. They failed me. The reason I got into coaching, because my first ever coach, she took $3,000 of my money, which I didn't have. Like, I had to do certain things to come up with it. And she didn't coach me. She ran away with the money. So I had to come to know, what is this coaching thing? What does it do? I knew psychologist, I know psychology, I know therapy. I didn't know coaching. So this is how I started. But the turning point for me, actually, there is no one turning point. There were many along the path. And for me to show commitment to my decision, for me to show, even though it's not working, even though I was fooled, even though I paid money, I put the time, I did the work, it didn't work, still believe in that there is something else missing. Let me go find that person, or let me go find that extra piece that I'm missing and work at it. This journey was 23 years, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I'm still working at it, because the commitment. If the commitment is solid, none of these things is important. So there is no one turning point. There are many. And I always say, with every level, there's another devil. So the challenges that I had when I was starting out is not the same. Today, my challenges are completely different.
Yeah, that's fabulous to hear. And the word that I get out of there is commitment. It's how willing are you, and how committed, how willing are you to commit to your journey and creating that life by design versus just allowing yourself to go with circumstances. Another thing that jumped out for me, Fatima, as you were sharing in the previous story, is trusting your intuition, and you're saying this story that first coach, charged you 3,000 and just disappeared. How do you connect with your intuition, and why is it so important to pay attention to our intuition?
This is such a brilliant and powerful question, Tanya. Connecting with one's intuition is extremely important when the channel is clear, when I am speaking the voice of truth within me all the time. But how could you distinguish between the voice of your mother, your grandmother, somebody else, your teacher, your husband, your father, and your own voice of truth and the voice of intuition? How could you distinguish between all of that? That's why when we stand in our own truth, saying the things that we are not supposed to say to ourselves, meaning if I'm not honest, I don't pretend that I'm honest. If I'm not whatever, not living a pretend life internally first and then externally will help us to connect with this intuition. But the voice of intuition is always uncomfortable. The voice of intuition is always against what you are expecting to hear. It's giving you another answer that you're not expecting, and it's never conforming with what your current circumstances is. It gives you a hint. It's very soft, it's very subtle, and it doesn't persist. It's just one time and then it goes. How to connect with it? You trust yourself more. You listen to yourself more. When you hear something and it's subtle and it doesn't repeat, it doesn't persist with you, you act on it right away. So when you do these activities more often and you live with integrity, you live an integral life, there's no pretend, it's easier and easier to connect with it regardless. My life today is the product of my intuition, and things that I was not supposed to do, I did because of my intuition. And the rewards that I'm having is because of that also. Some people say, I listened to my intuition and that was a disastrous. That was not your voice of intuition. Therefore, to create that distinction for each person for themselves is extremely crucial. And that takes time. That takes practice also.
Yeah, wow. There's so many layers here to peel off. So how do we clear those channels? Because you just said one of the ways to access our intuition is clearing the channels. How do we go about this? And what do you mean by the channels?
Wonderful questions. What I mean with channels, we are a vessel. We are not only, this body, we are not only this physical being, we live in 4 dimensions simultaneously. We operate at the level of the mind, we operate at the level of the emotions, we operate at the level of the body, we operate at the level of consciousness. If your body is performing, that means your body is in order. Your channels, the bodily channels are clear. If your emotions are stable and you are powerful emotionally, like you have that intelligence to deal with circumstances, good, bad, ugly, whatever, in a state that you are still empowered, in a state that you are not losing it, then your channels are clear, etc., etc. If you are able to think clearly and you think objectively, then your mind is clear. The channels, when they are not clear, first of all, why they are not clear? Because of all the events that happen in our life, going through them without having the knowledge, and it's not our fault, please understand that, without having the knowledge or the tools to help us navigate or process these things. So they stuck with us. So as we go through life, the longer you are on this planet, you have accumulated more. Therefore, the channels are clogged. Some of us are blessed with a happy environment, happy grew up in. Some no, they went through hell in their life. So that determines the degree of clutter that is clogging a person's channels. When I say channels, I mean consciousness. So I can work on the mind, that gives me limited results. I could work on the body, that gives me limited results. I could work on improving my emotions, that would give me limited results. Ultimate results anyone wants, they have to create them at the level of consciousness. Once you create that there, it's inevitable. And it is exponential, like it's not some tiny incremental growth that the person could have in any area of life that they want to improve. You return to factory setup, if I may say, because when we were created in God's image, we were created as prosperous, as healthy, as wealthy, as able, and then life happened to us, and then we are struggling with money, we are struggling in relationships, our body is not performing, our mind is fogged or unclear, etc., etc., etc. And then instead of enjoying the luxury of life offering, what we are doing, we are in pursuit of our own rights. And this is where actually we create suffering for ourselves. So to answer the other part of your question, the only way, based on my experience and experiments that I have done over 23 years, the only way to clean them up is through doing a consciousness cleanse. And that's the process I have created and started to offer it to people like yourself. You went through it as well.
Yes, I just love that you came up with this because I'd never heard. I mean, there's this whole, out there fad of like, let's do a body cleanse or a detox, cleanse with just food. And so when I first heard of consciousness cleanse, I was like, what is this all about? And I love this explanation that you've just given us. For anyone that's listening, if you've never done a consciousness cleanse, highly recommend to go check out Fatima's consciousness cleanse. It's actually coming up. She does them every so often. There's one coming up at the end of November. If you happen to listen to this episode past November, still go check in the show notes and see about her consciousness cleanse, because you will be transformed. I guarantee you, like there will be transformation in you. You will clear channels in ways that you didn't even think possible. But where did this come from? Because here we were talking about intuition, and now you're talking about clearing the channels through a consciousness cleanse.
Yeah.
Did you feel that the consciousness cleanse idea came through clear channels and listening to your intuition?
Absolutely. I'm all about power. So a person, male, female, it doesn't matter. If you are in a state of power, you can create. Our life is all about creation, but right now we are suffering. We are always in pursuit. We are not creating anything. If anything, we are consuming. We are not creating. So because I cleaned my own channels, I was able to get, they call them downloads, but I actually got access to consciousness. My consciousness is limited. When I connect with the higher consciousness, this is where the magic starts to happen, because things that are beyond my comprehension, beyond even what I could see possible for myself, exists there. If I got a sneak peek or I got an access to it, then that's mine. So what I try to do with people inside the consciousness cleanse, first of all, to make this possibility available. Second of all, to help them understand and see where their power is leaking so they can claim it back and stay in it. Do an affirmation saying, I claim my power back. Good luck with that. Say it 1,000 times a day. It would not come back because you have not removed the thing that is feeding on your power or the thing that is stopping you from having the things that you want to have. But truly, how did this came about, Tanya, is that every time I had a problem, I had to look for a solution. So the solution sometimes was a mentor, was a book, was a seminar, was a retreat, but they were not bad. I'm not saying they were not working, but they dealt with one aspect of the problem. And then when I go home, okay, what do I do with my life now? It was wonderful experience. It was wonderful information. Where's the application of that in my life? Even though I tried to apply it, it wouldn't work because I didn't have, I don't know what to tell you, it dealt with surface level issues. It did not treat the root. Through my experience with working with lots of clients, and I was my own first client in a sense that I wanted to test it on me first, I saw that this works. It works because the result is instant and it's permanent. I don't need to waste 10 years. I don't need to go through a 6-month coaching program. I don't need to go through XYZ if I don't have the resources. I can go through this in a specific period of time, and instantly during the process, I get the results. And this is how I came about to share it with others, because this was only available for my private clients. But people kept asking me, Fatima, what's your secret? I cannot recognize you from 2 months back. What are you doing? How do you have the energy? Do you have a team? Do you have a secret thing? What is your thing? What are you reading? What are you doing? This is my secret. So I opened it and I designed it in a form of a challenge. Initially, it was 60 days process, shrinked it to 45. and then 11, and now it's a standard 7 days. By day 2 or 3, people start to see miracles, and the results keep staying with them and growing with them. It is improving. It's not, okay, I got a result and then it's stopped. It's continuously giving them outcome and results and performance inside their own life, because they remove the cause. The root has been cured, and now the fruit is an evidence of a healthy tree, if we were to use the tree as a metaphor.
Wow, yes, so many amazing golden nuggets within this, and just how we can start taking action and moving towards clearing those channels. This is what I'm taking out of this. And like I said before, like I've done this consciousness cleanse before. You said you've done it, but it's not a one-stop shop for anyone that's listening. This is a constant work in progress. We have to be checking in with ourselves. Like it's like going to the gym. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to the gym, I'll exercise, and now I've already taken care of that, I'm healthy. It's a constant work in progress. You can't just go once and be done with that. So tell me a little bit, Fatima, because you were talking, going back to intuition and acting on it. You mentioned you have to listen to that voice and take action right away, even if it's scary. That's why this podcast is called The Courage to Be. It's the courage to be, inspired, the courage to be yourself, the courage to be affluent, the courage to be fill in the blank. Give us some stories of where you got a download intuitively and you're like, no way, this doesn't even make sense. But you still took action. I call it inspired action. And I always say, take action as fast as you can, because if you let the critter brain get in the way, it's not going to be good. But can you give us some examples of yourself, of how that came to you and you knew, and it was a good result because you followed your intuition?
Absolutely. Actually, this consciousness cleanse is a result of an intuition. My genre is money finance. I turn around companies. My expertise is in cash flow and process design. Has nothing to do with spirituality. I don't have any spiritual training or course or program whatsoever. When the intuition came to deliver this in a form of a challenge, it was a challenge for me to do it. I rejected the idea in the beginning. I said, this doesn't make sense. This is not my genre. This is not something my audience are used to do with me, and etc., etc. So many things, but I offered it regardless. When I offered it, it took off. And today we are negotiating to take this to the army. We are negotiating to take this to corporation. I had no idea with my limited thinking what was the need for the consciousness cleanse and what is the impact that this could produce. So far, and I don't want to go into financial results people have created, I could never, ever imagine thinking back then that consciousness cleanse could have such an impact. Even the name, it came to me like, it's not, I hope you guys understand that this is not something I'm used to do. My genre is money, leadership, business. That's it. My genre is not this. I work with individuals to become successful business owners, not necessarily in the realm of spirituality or consciousness or any of that. This was something I enjoyed for myself. Occasionally I would share with my clients. So look at the impact of that and where is this going. Actually, as a result of this, we created some things that we will posting on Amazon as well. But back then, when I was 8 years old, I'll take you all the way to my childhood. So here I am. My father is a very successful businessman. I had an idea that I want to build a business or start a business. 8 years old, you have to understand. The need was because I wanted to buy a new set of coloring pens. So my dad will buy me, like in the beginning of the year, I wanted something bigger, which had, I think, 360 colors in it. And I needed a large sum of money to buy that. So I had an idea. I took my allowance. I went to the supermarket. I bought chips and juice, and I came back. I opened the door of our house and I went to all the neighbors and I brought all the kids and say, hey, come buy from me chips and juice. So I created an event for children in the neighborhood to come and buy from me. And then by the time my father came home, he saw what I'm doing. He was so proud of me. At the same time, so thinking, okay, what sparked this idea? Why are you doing this? I said, this is what I want. And we counted the money. The money was not enough. I said, could you complete the money for me? He said, no. If you wanted to do this, you go ahead and do it. So I went about and start teaching people. So right then, I didn't know what intuition is, but I just had an idea. We like to consume chips and juice as kids anyways. Why don't I go ahead and buy it and sell it? And from there, I started to teach other people how to conduct business and how to do things. From that experience, I took with me so much. Every time I'm stuck with a decision I need to take, I go back to that story and I remember the 8 years old Fatima and what had her think this way and how she had to think, and ideas just keep coming. And when I go back to that, ideas keep coming, and then it becomes easier and easier for me. The number of stories I can tell about intuition and how it saved my life is just enormous. How it improved the quality of my life is also enormous. I think every listener who is watching or listening to us, they also have moments in their life, the moment of truth, I call it, when they had this voice and it was saying something unrealistic, doesn't make any sense, but they act on it anyways, and it proved to be the right thing for them down the road. It always shows up down the road. It's never right away.
I love it. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that story, going back all the way to 8-year-olds, like that just shows that you were already in alignment, with your soul and the type of work that you do. And I have to ask you, so when your dad said that he wouldn't complete the rest of the money, that you go out and sell more chips, or like, what did you do to raise the rest of the money?
I just continue to do the same every week with so I used to get my allowance in the beginning of the week. I'll take my allowance and I go back and do the same thing. So next time I brought some gummies. So it just was like going out like this. And then my mother, she had to stop it because I was not studying. So she says, it's enough, and I didn't get the coloring pen because the money for it was not even enough. But I got the experience and I had a capital, which we call it a capital. I had some money. With that money, I could buy so many things. And I continued to save. And then I went and bought a pair of gold earring. So my dad, he came with me to buy that, but he never supported to buy coloring pens or clothing or anything else. So still until today, I do have a pair of earring that I bought as a result of me saving money and doing that business when I was 8 years old.
That is amazing. I love that story. And because I was going to ask you, you mentioned before, you come from a family of affluence. So to the listeners, they could be like, oh, well, Fatima has it so easy. Like she comes from affluence and she really hasn't had struggles. So I love that you share this because it's such a teaching point, even for people. Like, I'd like for you to shine a little bit of light on coming from a family of affluence, what you've learned, because just with the story, I get a takeaway of, hey, if you do come from a family that you can provide for your kids, do you want to choose to set them up for success where they can work towards their goals, which is what your father did for you? Or are you going to give them everything handed on a silver platter? So I'd like for you to talk to us a little bit about this balance, and how has your life been different coming from affluence versus your own struggles? Because your struggles could be different. This is the invitation for the listener that's going to that place of like, she has it easier. You have to understand, Fatima's a woman from the Middle East that didn't need to do this work. And I know she has, I'm sure, had to fight a lot of battles to get this work that you're committed to. So I just have so many questions with that too, Fatima. So just share with us a little bit about your own struggles, even though coming from affluence. And then we can talk a little bit more down the line about what that means too, like coming from that mindset.
Yeah, so you spoke about a couple of things. Let me break it down. First of all, education, for parents to educate their children, right? Having money, not having money is not the key, but you're building their character. What are you setting them up for? You know, for me, my daughter, she's the only child, and we have money. We are blessed with it. That doesn't mean that she could get everything that she wants. Still, she has to. She's working. Actually, she does work and she study, and we don't need her money. She doesn't need the money, but she needs to learn the skills that will enable her to be successful in life. Meaning, if her mother and father died today, she can survive. And she can not only survive, she can thrive. With my father, he had the same philosophy. So my father is a very wealthy man, but he did not come from wealth. He had to work hard for his money, and he did so many things in his life to be able to be successful. Therefore, he made us also work. So yes, everything was available. For women, it was easier because they took, in my culture, they take care of women, obviously. But regardless, if you want something and it's outside of what I'm agreeing to provide for you, you have to work for it. And then after you have worked for it, you have to gain my agreement. You have to obtain my agreement to let you have it. So that stuck with me. That was something that, yes, I always have to prove myself and come up with a case, a business case or a case to have him agree to do the thing that I wanted to do. He didn't agree to the coloring pins, but he agreed to a gold investment, for example. Moving forward with my own challenges in life, you have to understand God is fair. You know, God would never put someone on a pedestal and other people below them. A person is doing that to themselves. Either you stay where you are, you have to be watching and envy people who are successful, or you have to stand up and say, you know what, I can do it too. I have all the resources and I will do it. That's simple. Regardless of where you are standing, you will have your own challenges. Having money, not having money, you will have your challenges. Coming from a family or a specific environment, you know, from a different culture, everyone is having their own fair share of challenges and obstacles that they have to overcome, and you can only overcome them if you learn from them. So you have to understand, my husband is, until today, is not supportive of my work. I do it anyways, but I gain his agreement. You know, we are not in a state of conflict. My mother, until today, she doesn't think that I'm doing the right thing. I should stay at home. I should take care of myself. I should have more children, etc., etc. This is her view of life, not necessarily mine. How can I still be in a good relationship with my own mother without making her wrong, without making me wrong, without letting go of my own dreams? That's the power. That's the power of this work. That's the power of a person sitting down, pen to paper, crafting an idea of how their life should go, designing this character, designing this human being, the life around this human being. It should be designed, but right now it's by default. So if I were to sit down and tell you about the challenges I'm going through or I had to go through and overcome, probably I will write 10 folds of books. But to simplify, I have a high education. I have a master's degrees in business and quality management. I was consulting with top firms in the Middle East before coming to Canada. When I came to Canada, none of my degrees mattered, and I had to start over. I was working in a shoe store. So I brought shoes to people's feet and tried to sell it to them and make sure that they are happy with us so they can give us a review afterward and not come back and refund or not come back with an exchange. So still, I started from rock bottom. And then from there, I took the next job and then the next job. And then here I am today doing what I love to do, which I was doing anyways, but I continuously doing it without having to work for somebody else. I had to learn the lessons in a form of a challenge or an obstacle, regardless. If I did not learn that, the next level would not have been unlocked for me. So I hope that answers questions.
Yes. And what I'm taking, if I would have not gotten through that challenge, the next level wouldn't have been unlocked for me.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that, because working at a shoe store, what was next? What did you unlock next? And how do we step into that next level? How can we unlock that next level?
So when I came to Canada, they said you have to have Canadian work experience. You cannot have work experience from overseas. I say, okay, what does it take? working in anywhere. So I started in a shoe store. And then meanwhile, I applied in my field in so many companies. I sent out over 1,500 resumes tracking. Like I had an Excel sheet tracking it all, and then I stopped. And then I started working for a financial institution. So my annual income was around 32,000 per annum. So I started there, and then I started working with Bob. And then Bob said one sentence: turn your annual income to a monthly income. This was the only thing I needed. Maybe I worked with Bob just to hear this one sentence. Although my father was doing it actually practically in his life and his business, it never dawned on me that I, Fatima, could turn whatever it is that I'm earning into a monthly income. That never occurred to me. But my father was always talking about investments and how it has to double, quadruple in whatever matrix is. But it never came to me as an identity, as a person, Tanya, Fatima, etc., Michael, John, whatever. Everyone can turn their annual income to a monthly income. The minute I accepted that idea, that was game over. In, I think, less than 4 months, I turned my annual income to a monthly income. And this is where I handed in my resignation and I left. Then my annual income was close to 60,000. So when that happened, I said, okay, now I have 60,000 in a monthly income. That is annually X amount of money. And then how can I turn that into a weekly? How can I turn that into a daily? It became a game, which I'm enjoying, versus it's a frustration why it's not happening. And this is the pitfall of people when they set goals. They get so attached to the goal and they lose the fun part of it, the process of, I'm playing this game and my aim is to win. How can I win? And while I'm having so much fun doing it. So yeah, this is really what it is. This is what it unlocked for me, being an employee versus being a cause for people's transformation. And I take pride today to say I manifest millionaires. I make people, average people, I make them millionaires. Easy. It's very easy. Have I not done what I needed to do to act on the things that I needed to act on then when I didn't have the resources, when I didn't have the time, when I didn't have the mental or spiritual capacity to pull it off? But I did it anyways. Today, I'm standing in a different position.
That is huge. That is an amazing story, Fatima, of just turning your annual income into monthly income. I'm sure many are listening and it's just blowing their mind. Like, is that even possible? I'm sure that's where you were, well, not for me, for other people, but not for me. What would you say are maybe like the top 2 ingredients? You're just saying right now that you make ordinary people millionaires, not people that were born in affluence. It's like, what would be like top 2 things? And I know you can't condense it, we have a limited amount of time and that's why people work with you. This takes time and you're just listening, but what could be a tip, to leave our listeners with some hope and knowing that this is possible?
100% is possible. Not only an annual to a monthly, an annual to a daily, an annual to an hourly. That's 1,000% possible. It's just that the person has to entertain the idea. When I heard it, I came back to my husband. I became the joke of the family. You have to understand this because we have a WhatsApp family group. So he started to run jokes around me. This is what Fatima wants to do. And my brothers start to laugh. My father saying, all of that was there. But today I'm leading by example because it doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter. What matters is number one ingredient is commitment. How committed I am to the thing that I want. Am I gonna give it up when things gets hard or when I don't see a way, when I don't have the support, when I don't have the mental or spiritual or emotional capacity to carry on? Or it was a wish or it's a commitment? If it's a commitment, you 1,000% will get there. This is number one. Number two, find someone who can guide you. Ideally, a mentor. Don't put a price on it. Don't say, I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have that. You are spending the money regardless. Money is energy. Money is like this fancy high-class lady. She will come with an invitation. So an invitation will be the use of the money. Let's say if you were to use the money to buy a house, Although you are right now renting and you have a dream of buying a house, trust me, all the resources will compile for you to come up with the down payment. And instead of paying for rent, you will be paying for your mortgage. And then you will face some challenges. But if you are committed to buying the house, regardless, money will show up, the right house will show up, the right neighborhood will show up, the right resources will show up. Also, some challenges will show up to test your commitment. So number one is commitment. Number two, finding someone to guide you, ideally a coach that you trust or someone who can hold your hand, while you are on this journey of discovering yourself. If you do those two things, you have the shortcut to success. If you want to try by trial and error, you will go out of resources, you will get out of breath, meaning stamina to continue, and then you will give it up. That's why commitment is key.
I love this. And again, I love how you synthesize and you bring everything down to an understanding, to a level where it's like, okay, that's what I need. I need my commitment. I need my, belief in myself. You also mentioned before that you had seen your father doing and achieving, that annual income per month, but you didn't feel that that was possible for yourself, and I feel like this is something very key for all of us, because many times we feel undeserving, or we feel that they can do it out there, like someone that's listening now, it's like, oh, well, Fatima came from Affluence, so she had a father that was an example. And what I'm trying to do with this interview is to demystify and to break down that that's not true. So how do we allow ourselves, you did mention entertain the idea, but how do we allow that deservingness, especially for women? I feel like, and from cultures like yours and mine, very patriarchal, very men driven, there's certain roles that we have to follow as women. How do we allow ourselves as women to believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams and believe that we are deserving?
Yeah, belief is a big word, especially for someone who's starting out. They don't have belief. They have lost belief. We have lost faith and belief in our government, in our education system, in the healthcare system. We have lost belief in so many things, and so many people are losing faith also. So belief is a big word. But do you want this as a desire? Would it be nice if you had it? If the answer is yes, I will just entertain this idea, meaning I will dwell on it. What if it could happen? That question doesn't have any charge. It doesn't require me to do anything. But would it be nice if it happened? You will say, yes, it would be very nice. That's enough. Let's say you, the listener or the viewer, let's take, because we talked about it, turning your annual income to a monthly income. Would it be nice if that happened? Everyone, without exception, will smile, will say yes. This is the least resistant, the effortless way of accomplishing things. Once you entertain this idea that it would be nice, I wonder, as a curiosity question, I wonder, what could I do with the extra money? I wonder, where would I go shopping? I wonder, where would I go dining? I wonder, just wonder. Don't do anything. Doesn't require commitment. It doesn't require faith. It doesn't require belief. It doesn't require anything. You will feel naturally, you have a zest of life like ignited in you. You have a fire that is in the belly, is restless, is not letting you settle. All of a sudden, your focus attention is going toward the things that you want. Versus, let's say, and this is the mistake most of the coaches or most people they do, oh, what's your goal? My goal is $1 million a month. Okay, how much are you earning right now? Less than $1,000 a month. There's a huge gap. It's automatic for me not to be able to see myself doing it. But let's say if my income is $1,000 a month, and would it be nice if I got extra 500? Yeah, it would be nice. What would you do with that 500? And start thinking about these things. Just think, just entertain that idea. It will become easier. For women, specifically women, having a group of people that they can lean back into, having a group of women that they can go back and say, if you had an extra $500 a month, what would you do with it? And they start goofing about these things and support one another. That will be extremely, extremely, extremely helpful. But for me, I never had a support. team or a support family or a support group of people. Therefore, I went about and I created it by design. I selected the friends that I hang out with. I selected the people I spend my time with. And the conversation with them were different from the conversation I had with my own family. With my family, it's just around family. With my friends, it's around things aspirational that I wish to have or I wish to bring into my life. But regardless, a person have to spend some time every single day. Would it be nice if so-and-so happened? I wonder, what would that bring to my life? Just that. It's so simple. It's so effortless. And it brings a sense of possibility versus a sense of work. People don't like to do work, but they can wonder, they can entertain that idea. And before you know it, within a month, they are already moving into that direction. Slowly, but for sure, they will be moving into that direction.
You are just a well of knowledge, and I can sense much of this information just channeling, Fatima. I just love how you mix the spiritual side with the intellectual side. You know, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, you can't see it right now, but she's got a whole library right behind her. You know, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, but I just want to describe her background because she is a wealth of information, but applied information. And I wanted to come back to that as we're wrapping up our interview. Talk to us a little bit about the difference. And you brushed over it at the beginning, you know, of just acquiring information, you know, like these top books. Like I wanted to ask you the question, like, what are your top 3 books? But I see you have so many books there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I don't think I want to ask her that question, because then people are going to go read the book, and then it'll be just another piece of entertainment or another check on another book that they've read. I want you to answer us, what's the difference between just acquiring information, especially in this day and age, versus having that wisdom that you were saying at the beginning of our interview? How can we acquire that wisdom versus just information, Fatima?
It's very simple. Let's say, pick a topic. Let's say money or any other relationship, right? Any topic in the world. Most people, what they are concerned about is to go and learn about it, acquire more information about the thing. Let's say Bitcoin. A lot of people, they just acquire info. Oh, I know about so-and-so. I know about personal development. I know about how the mind works. I know about the subconscious mind. I know about XYZ, whatever the topic is. Learning from me will only come if you have applied the information. With that comes wisdom. So when you are learning from, 3 things start to happen. Number 1, you have a perspective. Right now, where you are standing, you have a perspective. This perspective will change. As you're changing your perspective, perspective will change your perception. Perception is the location from which you are looking at the thing. So as you're changing your perception, what will make available for you is the wisdom or the learning or the power of knowledge that is available in that circumstance or the thing that you're learning from, or the piece of information that you were supposed to get from the thing that you're learning from. So once that's happening, automatically that will change your perspective again, because the perspective you had in the beginning is not the same perspective that you will have after applying those learnings or those information that you are learning from. So how that could possibly happen if you are not taking the time to find a point of application inside yourself or your life. So learning about Bitcoin is great. Have you actually traded Bitcoin? No. Do you want to trade? No. Then why you are wasting your time to know about it? Just general knowledge. And this is where people spend their life just acquiring knowledge without actually having a use of it. So I could speak hours about that, and actually we'll discuss this on the Money and Wealth Consciousness bonus day, which we are doing in the cleanse, because that's crucial. That's crucial. Learning, when it happens, your life and the quality of your experience shift dramatically, because you go from being blind in that area to being all of a sudden enlightened, illuminated. So once you have that clarity, action is normal. You know, action is just natural. You are not forcing yourself into a habit of performance. You are naturally performing, and with performance will come your results, the things that you want. And it's always better than what you expected. Always will be like that. Will not be that, oh, I tried, but it didn't work. No, you tried and it did work, and it was even better than what you have expected. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
When I read a book, Tanya, I don't care about finishing the book or even finishing the chapter. This paragraph that I'm reading, what does it say? I try to get into the mindset of the author. What this guy or this girl, what did he want to deliver to me? What's the message? What's the point this is trying to make? Okay, I got the point. I will go today about my day thinking, okay, where can I apply this point? How can I apply this point? And then after I have done that, then I have the wisdom or the necessary perception that will help me move to the next level, if that makes sense. And then I go about and continue the book. I'm a slow reader by nature. I don't read fast, and I take very, very long time to finish one single book. But if I finish the book, you bet your money I know what's in the book, and I will apply, and I will make so much money out of the book as a result as well. Even if it's a book on relationship, you bet your money my relationship will start soaring because of the tips or the knowledge that the author put inside the book. When I apply it, it will produce results in my life.
That's what I love about you, and what I've gained in the time that I've gotten to know you and being in your classes and in your teachings is you teach very differently, because it's not you. First off, you make us think. Anyone that's been in Fatima's classes, cleanses, anything, you'll realize that she's not just regurgitating information that she might have learned from a book. And that's something that I love about you. You know, you really ask the right questions, you get us thinking. And like you, I feel like I've learned to apply the material, you know, not just consume the material, because you mentioned that before. We are in a society of just consumerism, but how are you applying it? Is it just like a hit of dopamine because you just learned about this information, whether it was on a podcast, whether it's reading a book, whether it's watching a documentary? But how are you utilizing that information and applying it in your everyday life? I love how you're saying that, Fatima, and that your pride is not in saying, I read 50 books this year, which I was there last year. I was like, oh my God, I'm reading like a book a week or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not getting me anywhere. I love that you're saying you're a slow reader, that you'll stay in that paragraph for a while, you'll go apply it, you'll question things. What was the author trying to do? Like, this has just given me a whole new perspective of how I want to approach books and learning myself too. Thank you for that. That was a beautiful pearl of wisdom right there in this conversation. And so as we're finishing up here, I want to invite everyone, if you've found this conversation entertaining, it's not to stay in that place of entertainment. If you've gotten something out of it, is to take action. And if you've resonated, if it's been a fit, you know, how Fatima, like if you can see what I've seen in Fatima from the time that I've known her, I really highly encourage you to come and join us in this consciousness cleanse happening this month. Just sign up, go to the show notes, tune in with your intuition, take an inspired action. Don't overthink it, you know, like the dates, the times, the this, the that. You're going to be challenged. You're going to have to do things that are going to get you out of your comfort zone. But that's what it takes courage. It takes courage to say yes to yourself and to be committed to that change that you want in your life. So we'll have all this information in the show notes. I don't know if would you like to add something about the consciousness cleanse? Because I think this time you're offering a wonderful, generous gift of adding money consciousness to it too, right?
So we are wrapping up the year. We are in the final quarter of the year. It could be the best quarter of the year regardless. So my intention is to create that for those who are attending, and 2024 will be a big year for a lot of us. And 2024 is the year of power. It's the year of manifestation. It's a year of money. It's a year of wealth building. Anyone who has big goals, next year is the year for them to create and manifest those. You don't manifest what you want, Tanya. You manifest who you are. So if who you are is clogged and overloaded with things that you don't want, and it's overloaded with experiences that is causing you suffering, pain, and you are stuck and you have entanglement with things that are no longer, you feel it, you know you deserve better, then the consciousness cleanse is the way for you, because it will help you clean that so you are ready for 2024. So bonus day will be on money and wealth consciousness. Right now we have an early bird pricing, which ends on Thursday, October 26th. I think by the time the listener is listening to this, they have to act fast. Regardless, the way this is designed is to prepare a person for the next level of possibilities in their life. The way it's designed is that the person would not necessarily need to go into another coaching program, another thing, unless they want to. This will be a complete circle for them. It's not a teaser, it's real teachings over 7 days. And a person will be blown away by the amount of dirt they had on them, psychological dirt, experiences, events, and they get to be free from these things. So they are available for life. They are available to see themselves. One of the most direct impact of the cleanse is a person is falling in love with themselves again, to get to know themselves again. And the impact of the cleanse has always been in 2 areas, money and relationship. So if that is important for them, I'll be honored to have them inside the cleanse. But as you said, it is challenging. It is designed to challenge people, because this is how you create change. Change happens either through repetition or through an intense experience. This is an intense experience. And the prompts, the questions, the integration process, the teachings in the morning, the Q&A, the timing, everything is designed very, very carefully and intentionally to create that shift in one's life, for sure. This is the only program I have with 100% satisfaction rate, and people keep coming back, for God's sake, because they saw so much that they keep coming back. And it is backed with a money back guarantee for a person who will attend all the sessions and do the work and not see results, or they are not satisfied. They can call us, email us, and we will refund them, no questions asked. This is how confident I am that this produces results beyond anyone's expectation, for sure.
Yes. And I can attest for this. I've gone through the consciousness cleanse and I'm going through it again. I know that this will be, like you said at one point, new level, new devil, new things to clean out. The channels might be a little bit less clogged, but there's always place, like whoever's listening, I don't care what level you're at, there's always room for cleansing and for cleaning out the dirt that's in our consciousness.
I go myself through it with the participants every single time, because I want to go to the next thing. Every cleanse, I come in with a big intention. There's a big project I'm working on, and I go through the cleanse so I can accomplish that project. Money and wealth consciousness, there is a lot of misleading information out there. People who never had money, they are talking about money. People who don't understand money, they are talking about money. And my intention in the bonus day is to clarify that, so people will fall in love with money, in a sense that it will be coming to their life like that high-class lady with an invitation. If they want to buy a vacation, if they want to buy a house, if the money will not be an issue. Money should never be an issue. And that's the intention behind it. Obviously, we cannot cover everything in a day, but at least they will have what they need so they can unlock the next level, and then they can take it from there.
I love it. Oh, I adore you, Fatima. This is great. Like I could keep on all day long, and I know you have to move on to other things too. What's one thing that our listeners can do to live a life with more courage?
I think the most courageous act any person could do is to let go of things that are not serving them. It could be a piece of clothing. It could be a relationship. It could be a line of work. It could be anything. But if they are willing to let go so they can make available the things that they want, they make room for it to come to their life, that's the most courageous act.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If I would never have been willing to let go of my luxurious lifestyle, you have to understand this. When I came to Canada, I lived in a basement apartment in a very difficult conditions. So I was able I was courageous to let go of my luxury, comfortable, have it all lifestyle. I had a nanny to take care of my daughter. I had a nurse in case we have emergencies at the house. I had a driver. I had a very prestigious line of work. I let all of that go to come back and rent a basement apartment. There must be something in your heart that you want that is worth you letting go of what you have. Did I lose any of the things that I let go? I have them still. I can go back and get them if I wanted. But I would never have experienced the life I have today if I did not have the courage to let go. And your podcast name is The Courage to Be. Would you be courageous? Would you summon that courage within yourself to be the thing that you want it to be today? It doesn't have to be extravagant. Today, what could you possibly be that you're not letting yourself be? It's a little bit complex, but I know that your listeners and yourself are getting the point. Courage is key, for sure. You have to be able to let go, and that requires courage.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I just want to jump through the screen and hug you, Fatima. You are amazing. Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom. And again, everyone that's listening, come and join us on the Consciousness Cleanse. Your mind will be blown away. You will be transformed.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for having me. Thank you for the listeners. I hope we contributed to them. If they have questions, they can obviously contact you and your team. And if you wish to do a follow-up, for sure, I'll be more than honored to do another follow-up. But that round, we will answer people's questions. So it is directly related to what they are most concerned about.
Perfect. Thank you. Big kisses. Love you, Fatima. This was great. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so grateful that you joined me today. If you enjoyed it, there's one thing I'd like you to do. Click on the follow button so you don't miss a single episode. Leave me a rating and a review, and please share. As my way to thank you, email us a screen grab of your review at the email in the show notes, and we will send you a free Crafting Your Future guided visualization, which is so simple to do with outstanding results. It will empower you and give you the confidence to attract and create the life you've always desired. See you in our next episode.